Hi everyone, it's Lynn Dion from Pink Whisper Designs. Today I've got a really fun card for you, a fun summer card. And this card could be used for a birthday card, a hello card, a thinking of you card. So it's just a fun summer style card. Let's go ahead and get started. So for the die set today, we're going to be using the Sizzix Crazy Characters #2, and it comes with 3 separate dies and 3 sentiments, and you get that little volcano, the sun, and the little popsicle. We're going to be using the popsicle today and that sentiment that says you are so cool. So you can see on the side of this die, it cuts out all the pieces we need, and it also cuts out the little sprinkles. And there are also some dies you can see right there that will die cut the cheeks, the eyes, and the mouth if you wanted to add that. We're not going to be using that today, but that would be a cute option as well. So I've got just 4 little pieces of Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock. That's a 100-pound cardstock. And I'm going to start off just adding some ink color to these. I'm starting off with the Salvaged Patina, and these will all be the Distress Oxide inks that we're using today. And then I've got Kitsch Flamingo. So I'm just using a blending brush and I'm just kind of evenly blending that color across the cardstock. I've got Shaded Lilac, and the last color is the Squeezed Lemonade. So once those 4 panels are done, we're going to be using these to die cut out our little popsicle. First, I want to add some water. I've got my Distress sprayer. I'm going to spritz a little bit of that water down onto my glass media mat, and I'll use a small brush to spatter those panels. Then I've got a dry paper towel, and I'm just going to blot up that water, and that'll give a little bit of texture to our popsicles. Kind of going to give it a little bit of an icy look, like a frozen look. So now once that's done, I want to grab the antique linen, and this will be for the actual stick on the popsicle. So I've got 3 pieces of cardstock. These are big enough to cut out the entire popsicle because that will be the base for all the little add-ons that we're doing. So for the bottom part, again, it will be the antique linen. So I'm going to line that up on the die. And then let's go ahead and use the Sizzix Sidekick machine to run these through. So again, that will give us the complete popsicle, but all we really need there is going to be that popsicle stick portion. And then we'll layer up the other colors on top. So I'm just going to cut down this piece of cardstock, and then I'm going to die cut the little pieces that are going to get attached to our popsicle. And I want to just randomly mix up these colors. So I'm going to die cut those same 3 pieces from all of these pieces of cardstock. And then we'll mix and match up the colors. Now you can see there along the side it will also cut the little sprinkles for you as well. So I'm going to run that through again, and then I'm going to just keep those sprinkles right in the cardstock for now, and then I can pop them out when I need them. Now I've got that pretty pink and the lavender and the green, and so I did that for all 3, and then I've got my little bowl of sprinkles, and they really do look like real little sprinkles. They're just so cute. Now I've got my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, and I'll just go ahead and start mixing these up, mixing up these colors. And it is clearly marked where these need to go when you die cut this, so you'll see exactly where you need to place these. Again, this gives us a nice base to work with, and then that little popsicle stick will be that antique linen color. So I mixed up some other colors, and I'm going to go ahead and assemble this next one. So altogether we need 3 of these. And these little popsicles just remind me so much of when I was a kid, and the Good Humor Man used to come, and we couldn't get to that little truck fast enough. As soon as that bell started ringing, all the kids in the neighborhood would run. So it just reminds me of that. So it's a really fun, whimsical card. And again, you get those other pieces in this set. You get that little volcano, and you get that sun, that sunburst as well. And it also has those little sunglasses that you can put on the sun, which makes it kind of fun. So now I've got my little bowl of sprinkles. I went ahead and I laid these out on the very top, and I'm just going to glue each of them down. The next thing I'll do is add some glaze to these. I've got my diamond glaze. This is from Judykins, and it's a clear glaze. I'm going to put plenty of it on there, a nice even coating of that, and then I'm going to let that dry. I like to kind of do it in sections, so I'm going to do the bottom section, then I'll go and do the top section, and then I'm kind of letting it set a little bit in between, and then I'll come in at the end and do the middle section. So I just didn't want it all to run together. I was trying to sort of keep those sections a little bit separated. So now you'll see that I go to the top. Now here you want to make sure it drops right down in between those little sprinkles. So just take your time here just applying that. And if you squeeze that bottle onto some scrap paper before you get started, you can remove some of those little bubbles because it's a little difficult to get them out once you've started on your project. If you do get a few bubbles, you can get a little pin and just kind of pop those bubbles, but it's a lot easier just to get it flowing before you go to your cardstock. So now I've got all those layers done, and now I've got some really pretty clear glitter. This is a super fine glitter, and I'm just leaving it in that little spoon and tapping the spoon to drop some of that glitter down into that glaze while it's still wet. It'll dry permanently in that glaze. So let's set those aside to dry. You can see how pretty these look now with that pretty glitter in there and that beautiful glaze. The next die set I want to use is the Sizzix Thinlits Essential Type. These are these really cute little letters. And what I want to show you is you get lots of each of the letters, which makes this really easy because for this card we need 2 of the letter O, and you can see you get 3 of them. You get plenty of each of the letters, and you also get some little extras, the question marks and the ampersand. So it's a really nice set. And you can see that I die cut the letters C-O-O-L out of some of that leftover paper that we colored in before. So those same 4 colors that we used earlier. And next, let's grab from the Fawn large and small mini slimline stackable die sets. From the one on the left, which is the large set, we're going to grab that largest die. And the one on the right is the small slimline stackables, and we're going to grab that second largest one. So let's go ahead and die cut those. We'll be die cutting both of these from the Strathmore Bristol Smooth White cardstock. I'm using my Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine, and those will give a nice stitched edge around each of those frames. And now I've got this beautiful Tropical Leaves 3D Impressions embossing folder from Sizzix, and this is one of my go-to summer embossing folders. I just think it's so pretty. So I'm going to place that smaller panel that we die cut inside the embossing folder. I've got my platform, the embossing folder with the cardstock, and I like to use just a couple of pieces of cardboard to run that through. Now you'll want to use the sandwich that works best for you, and you don't want it to be too thick as you're running it through. If it's too tight as you're running it through, just make sure you back it out and take off a piece of cardstock. So now you can see that panel is going to sit right on top of the base, and let's go ahead and color this background panel in. So I've got some really pretty colors here, those same 4 colors that we used before. I'm going to start off with the Kitsch Flamingo. I'm going to start on the right hand side, and then I'm going to work my way across this panel, just blending those inks together as I go. So now I've got the yellow, the squeezed lemonade, and then you'll see where those two, where the pink and the yellow overlap, you get that really pretty kind of creamsicle color, which I think is perfect for this card. And then I've got my Salvaged Patina, and we'll just blend those 2 colors together. And the last one is the shaded Lilac. So this is going to give us a really summery, fun background. Now let's go back to each of these colors. So I'm going to use each of those same 4 colors one at a time. I've spritzed a little water onto my glass medium mat, and I'm going to take that first color, again the Kitsch Flamingo. I'm picking up a little bit of that, and I'm going to spatter it kind of in the area of where I applied the Kitsch Flamingo ink to that panel. But I'm not too worried about it. I want to get some overlap. I want to mix the colors a little bit, so I'm not too worried about where it goes. I'm just kind of targeting that yellow area now for the squeezed lemonade. I'm using a small paintbrush to do this. It'll give me some little tiny droplets. Now let's do the Salvaged Patina. And again, just kind of working my way down the card. And then that last shaded lilac. So this is a fun kind of way to add a little bit more interest and texture to your card. So let's set that aside to dry and grab our sentiment, which says, "You are so cool." Now we're just going to stamp part of it, so we're not going to stamp the word cool. So what I'm doing is I'm centering the "you are so" at the top of the card. Just ignore that word cool because we've already die cut that out of our little alphabet set. I'm just going to temporarily tape this down so it doesn't move around. I've got a little piece of Post-it here. I'm just going to mask off the word cool. So I'll just mask that off while I ink up this stamp. I'm going to be using the Versamark Watermark Ink Pad. So this is an embossing ink. And I've placed this cardstock in my mini MISTI stamp positioner. So now we can go ahead and remove that mask, do our stamping, and I'm just going to press down fairly lightly here. I just want a nice even pressure. And for embossing powder, we're using the Ranger Superfine Detail White Embossing Powder. Now, if you are worried about static on this, you might want to use your anti-static powder tool first, and you do want to make sure that this panel is completely dry before you do your embossing. You don't want that embossing powder to stick anywhere that you don't want it. Now I'm going to heat set that with my heat tool, and that'll give us a nice bright white sentiment on this back panel. Now for the card base, we're going to take a piece of cardstock that measures 6 inches by 6 inches, and we're going to score that at 3 inches. And I do have those measurements up in the left-hand corner as we're going along, and I'll just press that out with my bone folder. Now let's grab that panel. We can go ahead and attach that to the front of the card. Just going to use my scrapbook.com double-sided adhesive. This is the 1/4 inch adhesive. This is a nice super strong adhesive. So this will make sure that this panel lays nice and flat on our card. I'll place plenty of that around the back, and then I'm just using my Cricut weeding tool to remove that backing. I like to just press the backing down with the flat end of the tool and then use that little pokey tip to pull off the backing, and it works really well. It makes it really quick and easy to do. So now that we have that attached, let's grab that tropical leaves background. And what I want to do here is I've grabbed a variety of baker's twine in all the colors that we're using. And I've got 4 pieces of baker's twine. And then I'm going to grab my 3D foam tape, and I'm going to place that around the back of the card. I will be wrapping the twine around right there on the right hand side, so I'm going to leave a little gap in the tape right where that twine is going to go, right there. You can see that there. So now I can grab the twine, all 4 pieces, and I'll just tie a little knot. And that's going to tie all these pretty colors together. I've got my reverse tweezers. I'll just pinch that while I'm tying that knot. That'll just hold it in place for me. Makes it really easy to tie this. And now once I have that tied, I can go ahead and just snip off those ends. I did end up grabbing my Tim Holtz titanium shears to do that. I get a nice clean cut that way. So now that we have that all set, you can see how pretty those look. We can go ahead and attach this to the front of the card. So let's just quickly remove that backing. Well, this will pop it up on the front of the card a little bit, give us some dimension. And I'm just going to center that right below that sentiment. At this point, I decided I wanted to cut a little bite out of one of these popsicles. I wish I had done it before I put the glaze on it. It did work out fine, so I grabbed the Sizzix Framelits, the circle sentiments, and this does come with some stamps as well. So I'm going to grab that scallop circle die, and I'm going to place it in the upper right-hand corner of that popsicle. Again, I think it would be easier to do this before you add the glaze. But I'll run this through. So I'm going to position it something like that to make it look like a nice little bite was taken out of the popsicle. And then I'll place this on my Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine. But I am going to cover that with a little piece of scrap paper just to protect that glaze a little bit better. So it worked out fine. I was able to die cut through that. And then I can go ahead and attach these little popsicles to the card. Just going to put that one in the center with a little bite out of it. To do this, I'm going back to that 1/4 inch double-sided tape because again, it's nice and strong. And it is going to be sitting on top of that embossed area. So I want to make sure that I have something that's going to hold these in place nicely. And keep in mind that all of the products I'm using today are listed and linked down below and also on my blog. And then I'm not pushing those down firmly yet. I'm just lightly placing them on that background so that if I need to move them, I can go ahead and do that because I want to just get that placement just right. And then once I like the way that looks, I can go ahead and push those firmly into place. Let's grab those little letters and we'll be placing those to the right hand side of that baker's twine. I'm using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to glue these down. And I'm going to kind of place them randomly along the side. I want to make sure that they fit. So I'm just kind of putting them on different little angles. And I'll do the top one and the bottom one. And then I can just pop the 2 middle ones in. Now I want to glaze these so that they match up with my little popsicles. So I'm going to go back to that diamond glaze and just put some glaze over each of these letters. And that will also give these a little bit more dimension. So keep in mind this takes a little while to dry and it will dry crystal clear. So let's take a closer look at the finished card, and these little popsicles just make me happy. This was just such a fun little summer card to create. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're enjoying your summer. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.